Imagine starting a family and owning a brand new house, ready for some joyful memories, only to realize that home sweet home is built on top of something sacred or having a dark history. Here's a list of the top 20 most haunted houses you never want to visit. MYRTLES Plantation, St. Francisville, Louisiana. The MYRTLES Plantation is advertised as one of America's most haunted homes. The house was built by one General David Bradford in 1796. It has been theorized that it was built on top of an ancient Tunica Indian burial ground. One of the first phantasmal beings that appeared was a Native American girl, among many others. However, the ghost that garnered the most attention was a slave owned by both Clark and Sarah Woodruff. Supposedly, after getting her ear cut off for eavesdropping, Chloe plotted to bake a poisonous birthday cake, which she fed to both Chloe and her children. Lalaurie Mansion. An extravagant mansion, coupled with high-class aristocrats, will surely present itself as one with a high pedigree. But unlike many others in this particular, has a rather dark and sinister history. Delphine LaLaurie, owner of Lalaurie Mansion, New Orleans, Louisiana, was an unspeakable inhumane slave owner. Accounts of her sinister treatments of the slaves were mixed. Slaves during the time were observed to haggard and wretched. However, much to people's speculations, Delphine to be generally polite to black people and solicitous of the health of the enslaved people that she kept. Hard to believe anyone was sane during that time. BLICKLING Hall. BLICKLING Hall, England. This Norfolk country house is rumored to Anne Boleyn, the second wife of King Henry VIII. Whilst the Queen of England gave birth to Elizabeth I, she couldn't fulfill Henry's ambition of having a son to rule. As such, their marriage reached a breaking point. Boleyn was charged by fabricated allegations and was to be executed by beheading. On May 18, 1536, it is rumored that Boleyn's headless ghost annually appears at her birthplace on the anniversary of her death. Sounds like a job for a certain foul-mouthed paranormal badass. House of the Seven Gables. Salem, Massachusetts. This somewhat modern colonial mansion was built by Captain John Turner in 1668 and remained a part of his family for 3 generations. The house's distinctive design and history would prove to be the inspiration for author Nathaniel Hawthorne's 1851 Gothic novel, The House of the Seven Gables. However, today the house manages itself as a museum that provides educational programs. Due to the novel's preternatural atmosphere, it's only given that the house also has been the setting of some rumored paranormal activity. A variety of guests have claimed to have seen the ghost of Susan Ingersoll, Hawthorne's cousin who previously lived there. Molly Brown House. Denver, Colorado. Margaret Maggie Brown did not just survive the 1912 sinking of the RMS Titanic, but also bravely urged the lifeboat crew to turn back and rescue others from the vestiges of what was left. Fitting to this act of selflessness, she was dubbed the unsinkable Molly Brown. Sadly, she passed away in 1932. However, speculation suggests that Brown was unsinkable even through death. It's been reported that her soul, or rather spiritual apparition, still resides at her old residence, which was reinstated back in the 1970s in a museum. Whaley House. San Diego, California. On 1852, Thomas Whaley attended the hanging of James Yankee, who had been sentenced for grand larceny. A few years later, Whaley built a 2-story Greek revival house on bricks of that exact location, being the first house of its stature in San Diego. The residence was operated as a theater, courthouse, and general store. Most noteworthy, it's been expressed that the ghost of Yankee Jim haunts the historic site almost apparently. Not alone either, as his daughter Violet Whaley committed suicide on the property back in 1885. When Thomas and his wife both passed, it's been believed that their ghosts haunt the place together. Winchester Mystery House. San Jose, California. This lavish mansion was the home of Sarah and firearm manufacturer William Wirt Winchester. When William passed, Sarah became the sole heiress of his $20 million fortune, but also unintentionally assumed the blood of those befallen by the Winchester rifles. As legend stated, Sarah had believed that those lost souls were haunting her from beyond the unknown, which after Sarah fled and built a house over 160 rooms, the Winchester Mystery House now offers guided tours, which has a sort of magnetizing effect, attracting various entities in the house. LIZZIE Borden House. Fall River, Massachusetts. Lizzie Borden stands out as one of America's most notorious figures, having been trialed for both her father and stepmother with an axe in 1892. It's been suggested that the house she once lived potentially has paranormal activity. Nearly 100 years later, in 1996, her father's house was reestablished into a bed and breakfast. However, many a guest have visited the supposed haunted establishment in hopes of the hauntings. If you plan on stay, make sure you bring the proper protection. I know I will. The Amityville Horror House. Amityville, New York. I'm sure a majority of us has seen or heard this name in many horror movies, or even read The Amityville Horror by author Jay Anson. This story came from a true incident where Ronald DeFeo Jr. shot and murdered 6 of his family members in 1975. Not only this, but just about a year after these gruesome murders, George and Kathy Lutz moved into the same house with their 3 children. But not even a month later, the family departed after reportedly having several confrontations with the paranormal. Now in 2017, the house was anonymously bought for less than the asking price. The White House. Hard to believe that one of the most iconic man-made constructions can also be the site of one of the untold horrors. Oddly enough, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue has been the site of numerous ghostly tales, a lot of which involve Abraham Lincoln. First Lady Grace Coolidge rumored to have seen the 16th president's ghost looking out the Oval Office window. Both Lady Bird Johnson and Eleanor Roosevelt felt an eerie feeling supposedly linking to Lincoln's presence while living there. Prime figures like Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands, alongside British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, also saw this apparition. Various other political figures have been rumored to haunt the place. Leap Castle. Roscrea, Ireland. Counted as one of the most haunted places in the world, this 15th century castle was built by the O'Bannon family. The castle's black history includes an internal strife between the O'Carroll brothers. A dungeon was discovered during the renovation. It was speculated that people were locked and starved to death in the dungeon, which had a floor filled with spikes and were left there to rot. When the dungeon was being cleared, they carted away 3 loads of human remains. The ghosts of this place have been seen to not be the typical, but rather some sort of freak amorphic astral beings. Samlesbury Hall. It seems that many of these haunted houses are in Britain. Maybe I should change my next destination. Samlesbury Hall dates all the way back to 1325, allowing for nearly hundreds of years' worth of ghosts to haunt the place. Even one of the owners of the place supposedly committed suicide due to being in debt, said to haunt the halls among many others. The place is a ghost hunter's hotspot and has been investigated to this day. 3 skeletons were found in the walls of the halls, which are believed to be those belonging to the ghosts. If you want to experience more than one haunting, then this is the place for you. Morris Jumel Mansion. New York City is also known as the city that never sleeps, is also home to many tales of the unknown. But we're not talking about that now, are we? Sitting atop Coogan's Bluff Ridge near the Harlem River in Manhattan, this house is also counted as one of the most oldest houses in New York. Like most of these places, Morris Jumel has a rich history, serving as not only a headquarters for George Washington, but also a battleground during the American Revolution when things mellowed out, a 19th century party house. It's no surprise to any that during those times many lives were lost. There have been many to believe that the former owner's wife is one that haunts the place. The Octagon House. Another one of the most haunted and historical establishments in America, the Octagon House in Washington, D.C., has its fair share of ghastly beings and otherworldly ethereal matters in its presences. Employees from all around have all claimed to have felt these specters on spiral staircases, the Octagon's 2nd and 3rd floor landings, the rear garden area, and the 3rd floor bedroom. The townhouse was built for John and Ann Taylor, who were distantly related to George Washington, and was later occupied by President James Madison and his wife Dolly. Legend has it that Dolly Madison never did leave the Octagon. Rose Hall. This Jamaican mansion sits high atop a hillside, overlooking the coast Montego Bay. The Mission was built in the 1770s. One of its most famous previous owners is John Palmer's. One of his visitors wrote about the property. It is placed in a delightful elevation and commands a very extensive sea view. Its general appearance has much of the aesthetic of a gorgeous Italian villa. Annie Palmer, wife to John Palmer, loved the place so much that it's been stated her spirit, known as the White Witch, is said to haunt the Rose Hall plantation. It's been mentioned that Anne has taught voodoo and witchcraft by adopted nanny after her parents passed away due to yellow fever at the time. Franklin Castle. Built in 1881 for wealthy German immigrant Hans Tinderman, Franklin Castle was considered cursed from the start. He had a 15-year-old daughter, Emma, which passed away there from diabetes not long after in 1891, and his mother followed shortly. Adding to 3 more, his children passed away over the following years. Hans built up the home to distract himself and his wife from his family's demise. Hidden passageways and rooms were rumored to have been installed for use. His sadly passed away due to liver disease in 1895, and Hans sold the house. It's been said that Hans have committed terrible things in this home, and why the castle has its haunting reputation. Chillingham Castle. Another old monastery turned haunted house. Originating in 12th century, it's mostly known for being a stopping point for King Edward I in 1298, as he set out to fight William Wallace and his Scottish army, and it remained a strategic location throughout medieval times, while the two nations continued to feud. English armies stayed there, and the Scottish armies would often attack and raid the place. So it's no wonder that some ghosts of the past continue to lurk in Chillingham Castle. There have been numerous statements of these ghost hauntings. Woodchester Mansion. One of Britain's plethora of haunted houses, Woodchester Mansion is tucked away near a hillside far away from civilization. Owned by the Ducey family, the second Earl Ducey was celebrating being made an earl with a lavish dinner, when suddenly his father's ghost appeared at the head of the table, after which he fled the home and did not come back. Then, when wealthy Catholic named William Lee purchased the estate, he decided to renovate the home. However, renovations got cut short when the workers just up and left. Some say that someone's life was taken on site. Others claim some paranormal activity took place. Even today, when entering the place, it would seem like an active construction site. Tools left all over the place. Raynham Hall. Raynham Hall in Norfolk, England, set the scene for one of the most famous ghost photos ever taken, the Brown Lady. Legend has it that the ghost of Lady Dorothy Walpole, also known as the Brown Lady of Raynham Hall, haunts the place. Dorothy was Charles Townsend's second wife. Known for his violent tendencies, Townsend is said to have locked her in her room for having an affair with Lord Wharton. She was never allowed to leave the hall, not even to visit her kids, and she remained captive there until smallpox took her in 1726. Many sightings of the Brown Lady have been reported throughout the years. Which one is the most haunted place? Do you know any place like this? Let us know in the comment section. Like always, if you enjoyed it, be sure to give us a big thumbs up and leave us some love in the comment section. To keep up to date with all of our awesome videos, be sure to hit subscribe and turn your notifications on to never miss a thing. Until next time, do take care of yourself.